Everything we do should be focused on well-being rather than us just thinking about economic growth for economic growth's sake. And we should have well-being targets to help us keep that mission focus.
It doesn't feel as if the system is working properly. Because I know at some point life was easier.
Healthy Livelihoods is a group of researchers who are trying to understand how families' incomes, their livelihoods, affect health and well-being, both for the children and the families in the short term and the long term as well.
ActEarly is a project across 2 areas in the UK, so in Bradford and in Tower Hamlets.
In both boroughs there's a very high rate of child poverty. Tower Hamlets it's 56%. In Bradford it's a bit less than that, but still very high, particularly in the inner city areas. The benefits of having 2 locations is that you can compare and contrast across the 2.
We haven't had families experiencing this level of hardship at this scale for quite a long time. It does feel like we're in a bit of a war crisis, coming out of COVID, coming into the cost of living crisis. So we do need to understand what impact that's having.
Really trying to see how income can affect health and well-being and what you can do to address inequalities of income.
Even the essentials are hard to get a hold of. The utilities, the rent, the roof of the house. At one point, for several months, I stuck to 1 meal a day, and I used to just make sure my spouse and my children ate. When you're raising children as a parent and you look at how kids who are unable to do basic things without getting tired, they're either overweight or they're too much inside houses, and you want them to be healthier and better than you. When I go shopping, I try and look for fruits and vegetables and stuff, but it's increasingly difficult when the cost of sugary snacks and microwavable foods is cheaper than the fresh salads and the fresh vegetables. You've got pizza deals, you've got all these other deals in takeaway saying buy this and you'll get this free, and they think, you know what, do I choose between heating my house or do I choose between getting fresh food?
Being in poverty is one of the strongest predictors we know of for children doing less well, physical health, mental health, educational attainment. But it might also mean that they feel left out compared to their friends, distracted from being able to study at school. It's a stress for children as much as it is for parents.
The school milk, for example. I mean, my son receives the school milk, but we pay for it on a monthly basis. He has come to us at one point when we weren't able to afford it, and he said that, I sit there and I see all the other children drinking milk, and the teacher says you can't have any because you haven't paid for it. And then we made some adjustments to our finances and made sure he got that. Whether that meant I took more of a sacrifice in what I spent money on, I was willing to make that sacrifice for my children.
If we're thinking about the next generation and how we think about strengthening our economy and our society in the long term, then health and well-being of our children is really crucial.
We feel as though that certain government policies aren't supporting us as well as they could do.
The more scientific evidence that we have, the better the case for bringing in resources that could help improve the situation.
And that evidence will help us persuade policymakers to search for solutions that will help alleviate those income pressures on families. But we also need to be thinking about long-term protection to secure people's incomes.
We would have hope that children would be able to fulfil their learning goals, families would be able to make food choices, make more leisure choices. There would be a narrowing of the inequality gap.
The hope is that what we do becomes the foundation for making people's lives better. The final goal is to reduce poverty.